Now that we took a look at our floor plan and we know where our doors and windows are located, before we get too far, we can start laying that out. My first window comes in at 5 feet 3 inches. So I'm going to line one end of my scale up with 5 feet, and I'm going to mark out 3 inches down here. This may or may not fall in line with my 16 on center. Doesn't really matter. Doors and windows get placed where we want them, and the stud structure will work around that. Now, my next number is 12 feet. So I'm going to line 12 foot up with the very end. I'm going to make a mark here, and I know that my window is going to go from this point to this point. I'll raise that up a little bit so you guys can see it. Okay, so here's my window, here to here. Excellent. Now I had a number of 14 feet 9 inches in between my window and my door. So I'm going to mark that out. I got 14 feet lined up with the end of my window. I'm going to mark out 9 inches right here. So that is one of my edges of my doors. And then that same number is starting from my old window is 1711. So I'm going to mark that out right there. So on this wall, I have one window and I have one door. Now that I know the location of that, I can continue to put my studs in, and I'm simply just going to skip any stud that is going to land in between these two marks. All right, so now we have our wall with all of the studs minus the areas in between where our doors and windows are going to go. So let's show you how doors and windows go in, how we frame them up. Here's a sample of a wall frame. So up to this point, you guys have your bottom plate, you guys have your top plate, and you've laid out studs and installed them 16 inches apart. So let's start with our door. In order to do a proper frame for a door, what you are going to need is you are going to need a full stud, oftentimes called a king stud by a builder. The only difference between this one and any other one is the fact that we need one of these guys called a trimmer stud right next to it. And the purpose, as you see over here, we have our king stud, we have our trimmer stud, and over here, kind of the same thing. We have our trimmer stud, we have a king stud. This extra one is here just because it landed 16 on center that way. If that's the case, then that's what we got to do. All right, so these two trimmer studs support this beam right here. This is called a header. And the purpose of a header is to absorb the weight of the load above. So keep in mind that if this is a wall in a house, you're either going to have a second story or a roof or both ahead on top. And that pressure is coming straight down on top. So we need the weight coming down on top of this top plate to head through, get to this header, which then transfers the weight to the trimmers all the way to the bottom plate. Without this setup, you could have some serious sag in your wall. You could have doors and windows that don't open very well. So this is really important. Now above the header, we have what we call cripple studs. Now these can get kind of tiny above a door or a window, but they're really, really important because they are taking that load that goes down through that top plate and this is what carries that load down to the header, which goes to the trimmer, which goes to the bottom plate, and then we're in good shape. It is also okay to just put your header right up against the top plate, and then that would eliminate the need for cripples above. When it comes to spacing your cripples, you get to put them exactly where your 16 inches on center was going to go. So in order to do a door, you're going to have a trimmer, a king stud, and those are going to go, I don't know if you can see it from right there, your trimmer stud goes right up to the line for where your door and window was marked. So that's what we need for that. That's how we do a door. For a window, it is the exact same thing. We have a king stud, we have a trimmer, we have a trimmer, we have a king stud, we have a header, we have cripples above. The only thing that changes is we add in a sill heading across, and we have cripples below, again going with your 16 inches on center. That's the only difference between a door and a window. Now, your sill, your floor plan isn't going to tell you where this sill needs to be height-wise. There are some cases, like a window above a kitchen sink, where we need this sill to be up higher, otherwise it wouldn't really work with the cabinets and the countertop. Bathrooms as well. People like windows in bathrooms, but we like them up a little higher for a little extra privacy. Bedrooms, living rooms, they can be down a little bit lower. You guys get to choose what you want as far as your sill in your house. So your floor plan won't tell you where those sills are. A set of architectural plans called elevations would, but we don't require you to do those for this class. So that is the anatomy of the wall frame. Now we get to go build.